Now we have Rahul Joseph, Head of Infrastructure Quintype Technologies. He'll be speaking about the bin packaging platform, right sizing your Kubernetes pods. I invite Rahul Joseph.
Hi everyone. I think I got the worst time to speak. I think everyone is thinking about lunch only. Uh, but I'll keep it short. I promise I'll not take more than 10 to 12 minutes. This is not going to be tech heavy, so it's easy for, I think it'll be easy for you guys to focus even if you're thinking about lunch. I'm not going to be talking about anything fancy, anything new. I'm just going to be talking about the foundational level aspects of Kubernetes, something that I think most of you guys are already aware of. Just starting with what Quintype does, just so that you understand scale. We are a digital first publishing technology platform. We have SaaS and PaaS products for publishers. We are hosted entirely on AWS. We started 10 years back and we started on Kubernetes. So it's been, we were one of the early adopters of Kubernetes in Bangalore. And we've been managing a large scale across multiple locations. Today I'm going to talk about the bin packing problem in Kubernetes. I think a lot of you guys might be aware of the problem. I'm going to talk about a real incident that happened to us, how we analyzed through it, and I'm going to be talking about right sizing applications. This is mostly focused on either DevOps engineers who are new to Kubernetes or engineers, developers in general, when you're requesting for your new application from your DevOps engineers. And yeah, I forgot to mention the key takeaway. The key takeaway is that there is no silver bullet. I think a lot of people talk about Kubernetes as go to Kubernetes or go to AI and everything is solved. That is not the way how it works. You have to be hands-on. You have to understand the foundational elements for you to work with any technology. Yeah, this is something fun, Dilbert comic that I always go with when I'm talking about Kubernetes talks. That is just the way it works, right? So a lot of at least senior level people in the company would always tell, okay, go to the new technology and all our problems will be solved. But there are problems that comes along with it. This is the classic bin packing, how it works in Kubernetes. So basically you will have multiple containers. All the containers needs to be placed across different nodes. So there will be large containers, small containers based on the amount of memory and CPU utilization that will be there. So you have to make sure that you have enough space in your nodes to fit them well. Now the problem that happens is that you might be having n number of nodes, but your pod basically doesn't fit into any one of those nodes. And this comes to the actual issue that we faced. If you look at this slide over here, you would see that the CPU utilization of our nodes is just around 20 to 25 range, but all our pods were going into pending state, which means we had all the CPU, like about 80% of the CPU of all our nodes were available to the pods, but still they were going into a pending state, which was alarming. So this was 3 years back that it happened. And a very simple describe command on the nodes, you could get the amount of CPU requests and memory requests that are placed in the nodes, and you would see that everywhere the CPU request is somewhere around 97 to 98%, but you saw the actual utilization was somewhere around 20 to 25%. Now, talking about memory requests and memory limits, I mean CPU requests and CPU limits, we have to talk about what they are. For those who don't know, request is something that I am requesting the scheduler, saying that my pod will need around 500 millicores or one core of CPU, whereas limit is don't let it exceed 2 cores of CPU, etc. So this is not actual utilization. It's an approximate configuration that you configure for your application so that the node scheduler knows where the pods need to be scheduled at. Now the ideal value, as you would all immediately understand, is between that place where the actual, if you keep it too low, you would involve something like CPU throttling or an out of memory kill that we were talking about even in the earlier session. Or if it is too high, it will be difficult to allocate. The first image that I showed would come to mind, where it will be too hard to allocate the pod into any of the existing nodes because the value will be too high. Now, CPU and memory works in different ways. CPU limits work in a way that the pod will be throttled if you're going above a certain level of CPU. Whereas, does anyone want to tell how a memory limit, if I cross the memory limit, what would happen? You'd get an out of memory kill and you would restart the container. That's a fundamental way to think about when you are actually configuring the limits and CPU limits and memory limits. One configuration, this might not work for every product out there or every service out there, but something that we generally go with is we have CPU requests so that we understand where the pod would be rightly placed, but we do not have any CPU limits. We would want the pods to use as much CPU as possible in the node. And the reason is because throttling of a CPU can have lot of adverse effects that you might not be able to figure out easily. Now, we've been talking about AI and automation and all of those things, but what we did at that point in time is we went back to the drawing board, in this case Google Sheets. We went to each application, we looked at the current requests, the average metrics, the max metrics, all from Prometheus queries. The reason that we did this and not directly go to a third-party tool who will be giving this is because we wanted to make sure we know the lay of land. There are 100 different services that we use, and we don't want to be making a change in configuration without understanding what that service actually does. So we looked at all the apps. We configured based on real utilizations that we saw for 7 days, both max and average. We talked to individual platform teams, developer teams for those service, and we came up with the values that we would start with. Now, this was a one-time activity. Obviously, we are not going to repeat this. We're not going to be doing a manual effort every time. And that's why we later moved to automating the resource usage monitoring by using tools like, Grafana and Prometheus, you are already well aware of. There's Cast AI and KubeCost, which also assist with controlling requests, making sure that your resource utilization is optimal. Now, I don't want to leave without telling about outcome. It's a very simple topic. It's something that, like I said, we just found out. We were 10 years into Kubernetes, and we've figured out we were hitting these bottlenecks 3 or 4 years back. So the direct effect on the EC2 costs were incredible. We got around 55% of reduction with a very simple exercise, right? So just something that to keep in mind. You guys can go back to your cluster, see what your application configuration is like, and make sure that you are placed rightly. That's all I have. Any questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rahul, for such an amazing session. Now I invite Aftab to deliver a small token of love from our side.